So here what I'm going to do is that I'm going to store the order ID in the session, or we can pass it, but I think in the session would be better. I'm going to say session and then order underscore ID is equal to order ID. And then in the payment here, what we need to do is that in case the user came from the order details, we can say PHP and then order ID would be equal to post order ID. And if user came from the cart, what we need to do is that we need to do the same thing, but this time the order ID is going to be equal to session order ID. Session order ID. And here don't forget the semicolon. That's it. Now we need to pass the order ID, so we have here pass the order ID, and that's it. Now we need to head on over to the complete payment. So I'm going to create now a complete payment .php here in this file, new file, complete underscore payment.php. And in the complete payment.php, what we need to do is that we need to do two things. We need to change the order. We need here, let me add a comment, change order status to paid. And the second thing is to store payment info in database. That's it. Very, very simple. And then just go to user account. Very simple. So in order to do all of these, first here in the payment we have the transaction ID, and here transaction ID and the order ID. So I'm gonna again go to by the way, we need the user ID, but the user ID is stored in the session, so we don't have to worry about it. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna go to the complete payment, and then I'm gonna say if is set get and then transaction ID and is set order ID get order ID order ID. Then we need here to complete and do everything. So here let me add the comments inside this if statement here, and then here, and then here. Now let me remove these and also remove it from here. So the first thing that we need to do is that we need to change the order status. So to change the order status, we need to access the orders table. So I'm going to copy a code from the place order because we already have the code. First, we need to connect to the database and start a session. So I'm going to copy these two, and then I'm going to paste it at the top here. We need to say session start and include connection. And then we need to update. So to update, I think we have a code that updates in the account. Remember, in the account we have a code that we already used here, this update. So I'm going to copy this code. I'm going to copy these two lines, and then I'm going to paste them here. And then we need here to say connection. Let me push this because these must be inside. Let me push these. So here I'm going to say connection prepare update orders, and then set order status, and then question mark where order ID. So we need to say bind param order status S and I for order ID, and then we need to say here order status and order ID. And here order ID is equal to the order ID get order ID. And the order status, order underscore status, is going to be equal to paid. At this point, it has been paid. And the transaction, we also need to say transaction ID is equal to get transaction ID. And here we update this, and then we need to say execute here, stmt execute. So this is the first step. The second step is that we need to store the payment info. So to store in the payment info, we need to say stmt and then stmt1 now, another statement, and then we need to say con and then prepare and then insert. But instead of creating this code from scratch, let me get a code from here. So here we have this insert. So let me get, I think this is shorter, so I'm going to get this one. I'm going to get this one, and then I'm going to paste it here in the complete payment. And then here I'm going to say statement 1. So stmt1 is equal to connection prepare insert into payments. And then what we want to insert is that we want to insert the order ID, order underscore ID, and we need to insert the order status, the user ID, and the transaction ID. The order status is not important here. The order status is not important, but the user ID is very important. The order ID is also very important. The transaction ID is also important. We don't need this. We don't need any of these. And we don't need the order status because payments, it means that obviously we aren't storing something that hasn't been paid. We are storing only payments. So I'm going to say here 3 question marks. We need the order ID, the user ID, and the transaction ID. And then here we need to say statement 1 and then bind param. We need to bind the I. And we need to bind order ID and user ID, which doesn't exist. Let me create it. And transaction ID. And we need to remove all of these things. So we need to get the user ID. Where's the user ID? The user ID is in the session. So I'm going to say user ID is equal to session. User ID. and then we say here statement 1, not just statement, and then execute. Finally, we go to user account. So I'm gonna say header, and then location, and then account .php, and then you can pass even a parameter. Say remember, in the account, let me go to the account. In the account, we have in the bottom here, we have I think at the top, not in the bottom, we have username, user email, message. I think message. Let's say here message, payment successful is equal to, or payment message. I'm going to say payment message is equal to paid successfully. Thanks for your payment. Thanks for your shopping with us. And that's it. Now we need to create the payments table in order to be able to continue. And else we need to exit this page and take the user to header, and then location index.php, and then exit. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to create the payments table. And to create the payments table, you need to open the database, and then you need to click on SQL. And then I'm going to use SQL to create the table. So I'm going to paste this code. So this code is going to create the table. So let me explain this code. This code is going to create the payments table where there will be 4 columns. The first column is payment ID, and the payment ID is going to be integer of 11 digits, and it's going to be auto increment, so it's going to be unique. And then we will have the order ID, the user ID, the transaction ID, and the primary key is the payment ID. And if you want to use this code, you need to pause the video right now and type this code. So again, you need to pause and type this in your SQL. Just pause the video and type this command: create table if not exists, payments, payment ID, etc. So all of this code, you need to type this code. And once you are done, just click on go, and this is going to create the table. And you should find the table here among your tables. As you can see inside the database, you will find that we have a new table now called payments. If you click on it, you will find that here, if you click on the structure, you'll find the structure. We have payment ID, order ID, user ID, and transaction ID. Make sure that payment ID is auto increment. This is very important. That's it. Now we have this payments table. Now we can use this payments table to complete to store payments. So let me now head on over to the project and work on this. So now in the project, as you can see, we continued, we finished this code. I finished working on this code, which is complete payment. Let me now test this code. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to start the process from scratch. So I'm going to create a new order. I'm going to go back to home, or alternatively, I can pay for an order that I already have. So as you can see, I have so many orders. For example, let me here pay for this order. Let me here click on details, and here let me click on pay now. So if I click on pay now, the PayPal button will be displayed right here. As you can see, PayPal payment button. Let me click on it, and I will be connected to PayPal, and I need to log in first. So again, you need to log in with the buyer account that you created, and then click on next, and then you need to type the password, and then click on login. So I should here get 405. So here, as you can see, 405. So let me now use use my balance to pay. I'm gonna click on Pay Now, and here it says processing. And as you can see, what I'm gonna get here is that I'm gonna get an error. This is a very common error. This error, even though this error is basic, many developers fall into this type of error. So let me show you how to fix this error. So now remember in the complete payment.php, here I said location account.php. However, the account is outside the server. Therefore, we need to say dot and then forward slash and then account.php. This is very important. Let me click on file and test one more time. So I'm going to go back and then I'm going to pay for another order. Let me go back, and here it says paid, but it did not redirect me to the correct page. So let me test one more time. I'm going to click here on details, and then I'm going to pay for this. Let me click on pay now, and here. Let me now pay for this order. And as you can see, it was paid successfully and it took me to this page. As you can see, it says here paid. Paid here, this order was paid and this order was paid. But the problem is that we still need to display a success message. So let's work on displaying a success message. So in the account, here after we take the user to the account page, we have this variable, payment message. So we need to display this payment message. So in the account, I'm going to open the account. And then in the account, what I'm going to do is that above this, I'm going to show you exactly where I'm going to display the message. I'm going to display the message here, specifically here. So here, let me show you where it's going to be displayed. So I'm going to say here message, and then I'm going to save and refresh to show you the location. So if I refresh here, the message will be displayed here, but we need to fix the design. So let me here say class, and then margin top 5, and I'm going to also say text center. So let me refresh, and it will be displayed here. So the message will be displayed here. So to do this, to display the message, we need to use PHP. I'm going to say here PHP, and then here first we need to check. I'm going to say if what, if get, because this is a get, payment message is set, first is set get payment underscore message. If we have this message, then curly bracket, and then we need here to open another PHP, and then we need here to say we need to close the curly bracket, and then I'm going to copy this P paragraph, and then I'm going to paste it between here, in between. And what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to add here space to show you the block of code, which is this. Here, all you need to do is that you need to say PHP, and then echo, and then get payment message, payment underscore message, and then semicolon. And make sure that the payment message key is equal to this one, payment message. Make sure that you don't have any typos. So let's now test another time. So to test one more time, let me first refresh, and here as you can see it says paid successfully. So the reason is because I'm still in the same page, but let me also add a color to this message. I'm gonna say style color green, because this is a success message. Let me now go back and pay for one of these orders. So we have order, I'm going to click on details and then pay now, and then I'm going to click on PayPal and let me pay for this order. Let me click on pay now. And as you can see, it's going to say here, paid successfully, thanks for your shopping with us. And if you scroll, you'll find that the order here, it says paid. So the process was successful. And if you click on details, you should never find the pay now button because this order was paid already. So it's great. Now it's great. And you as the owner, you have control over displaying the status. So you can now, if an order is paid, if in the database you find, if you go to the database and um, check the orders and find that an order was paid, you can start shipping that order to the user. So if you find of course you need to monitor your orders regularly, and then if you find that an order was paid, you can start shipping it, and you can change the status from paid to shipped or delivered, and it will automatically be displayed here to the user. So for example, if you are the owner and if you changed this to shipped, for example, if you say here shipped, and if you update this, now in my account as the customer, here it's going to say shipped. So the customer will know whether the order was shipped or not. And if it's delivered, you need to say here delivered. Delivered. And of course the user will have received, by that time the user will have received the order, as you can see, delivered. And regarding this message, as soon as you go away from this page and go back to your account, the message will never be displayed again, which is great. So the payment system now is complete. Finally, in the payments, if you click on payments, you should find that the order was, as you can see, the order was the payment was stored. So the payment here, payment ID, the order ID, and the user ID. So the user ID is 1, that's correct. The order ID is 5, 6, and 10. You can verify this by going to the orders. So order number 5 paid, order number 6 paid, order number 10 paid, and I changed this to delivered. For the transaction ID, the transaction ID is given by PayPal. So you can't change this. It's given by PayPal. PayPal decides the transaction ID. It could be a number, it could be a string, it could be a combination of numbers and strings. So you shouldn't change this. PayPal is going to give you the transaction ID, and you need to get the transaction ID here from the GET request. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to store also the date in the payments table. So the day on which the payment took place. So I'm going to create a new here. I'm going to add here one column, and then I'm going to say add after transaction ID. I'm going to click go, and then I'm going to create a new field here called payment underscore date, and it's just going to be a date. It's going to be a date, and just click on save here, save. So it's just going to store the date, just like the orders here, the structure in the orders. You'll find that we have here a date time, so you can use date or date time. It's up to you. Date time is going to display the complete date, the exact hour and minutes and seconds. So you can select you can select one of them. You can select date or date time. If you want a complete description, if you want the hour and the minutes and the seconds, you can say date time. Let's use date time because you might want complete details. Now we need to, here in the complete payment, we need to pass the date. So to pass the date, we need Remember, in the place order, in the place order, we used this code. So we can copy this line of code, and then here in the complete payment, you can say here payment underscore date is equal to, and then the date. And then you can pass the date here. You can say order ID, transaction ID, or user ID, transaction ID, comma, payment date. And then here order ID, user ID, transaction ID, and payment date. And here I, and then the transaction, by the way, is string. It's not an integer. According to PayPal's documentation, the transaction is a string. So we need here to say S, and the date is S also. It's not integer. Now let me save and let me test and see how this is going to work. So let me go to my account and let me pay for one of the orders. So I have so many orders. Let me, for example, pay for this order. Here, I think this was paid. This one was paid. So let me pay for this one. This one, let me pay here. So let me click on Pay Now, PayPal button, and let me pay now. And by the way, if user closes down this window, there is no error. So it's a great thing that the user will know that there is no error. If the user decides to pay, they just would click again on the button and it will start loading. And PayPal, by the way, is going to display an error message here automatically if something goes wrong. So you don't have to worry about this either. Because the reason is because this happens outside. You need to know that this happens outside your website. As you can see, this is a pop-up window that points to PayPal. So PayPal will take care of the errors here. Let me here click on Pay Now and see what's going to happen. So here we have an error here. It says call to a member function on Boolean. So we have a problem on line 28. So the problem here on line 28 is that I said order ID, and then user ID, and then transaction ID, and then payment date. And here I forgot to pass the question mark. I need to say here comma and then question mark. So again, this is a common mistake, but it's a simple mistake. You can figure this mistake out quickly. Let me save and test one more time. And it's great that I'm getting these errors because you will learn from these errors. So let me go back and test one more time. I'm going to go back to the order and then let me pay now. Let me click on pay now or PayPal button. Let me now click on pay now. And as you can see, payment was successful, and here it says paid. And let me check the database now. So now in the database, in the payments, we should have everything. Now we should have the date. As you can see now, it's much better. We have the date, we have the transaction, the complete transaction. According to PayPal, again, this is going to be a string. So this is why I changed this to a string. And we got the complete transaction ID. This is very important because if there is any problem, you can contact PayPal and tell them about any problem using this transaction ID. And they will find out about the problem if you want extra information using this transaction. And the user, you will know the order ID, you will know who paid for the order. Everything has been stored here. And if you go to the orders, you should find that the order ID number 11 was paid. As you can see, order number 11 paid. And the user who paid was user number 1. So now our payment system is robust and complete. Welcome back. Now, in order to go live and receive real money from people, you need to change the sandbox environment into the live environment. So you need to head on over to your PayPal developer account and then click or select the live in my environment, and then you will find all of your apps. Click on the app that you created. So I'm going to click on my app, and then you will find your PayPal account as well as your client ID. What we need is your client ID. So you need to copy your client ID. You need to copy it, and then what you need to do is that you need to replace the sandbox client ID, which is this. You need to remove it from here. You need to remove it from here, and be careful. You need to remove only the client ID. You have to be very, very careful. And here, make sure that it says here client-ID is equal to, and then and. Between these, you need to paste your client ID, your live client ID. You need to copy it and paste it here in between. So I'm going to do this step, and then I'm going to come back to you. So after you have pasted your real client ID, live client ID here, after the client-ID is equal to, now let's test. It's time to test. So in order to test, first of all, you need to head over to your project, and then the first step is that you need to go to the home page and refresh. It's very important to refresh so that the code takes effect. Next, let's pay for an order that I have. So I have here so many orders. For example, I have not paid for this order. So let me here click on details. Let me pay for this order. Now you will notice the difference. The question now is, how would you know that you are now using the live PayPal environment? Well, let me show you what's going to happen now if I click on the PayPal button. Now the difference is that here in the window it says paypal.com. Previously it used to say sandbox.paypal.com. As long as it says here paypal.com, it means that you are using the real environment. So again, as long as it says here paypal.com without sandbox, it means that you are using the real environment. This is very important. Now, if you are using the real environment, real money would be transferred from your account to the account of the owner. So this, if now I log in and pay, my money will be transferred to my business account. So I'm kind of transferring from my personal account to my business account. You can test this. I'd highly recommend testing this. You can create a personal account and then transfer money from your personal account to your business account, just to test that completely even before you let real people transfer real money to your account, to your business account. But this, as soon as it says here paypal.com, it means that you are using the real environment. And that's it. Pretty simple. And now the payment system has been integrated successfully into your store, and you can start receiving real money from people. Welcome back. Now it's time to work on extra features that we could add to our project. And the first feature that I'm going to add is the number of items that we have in the cart above this cart. So whenever the user has something in the cart, we need to display the number of items. So to do this, the first step is that we need to calculate the number of items. So in the project, the first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to open up the cart, and in the cart called calculate cart, and we can use this function to calculate also the total cart. We can use this function to calculate the number of items that we have. So to do this, we can here, as you can see here, we have this quantity. This quantity is the quantity of each single product. And if we add the quantities of each single product up, if we add them up, we will get the total quantity. So let's here create here total quantity. I'm going to say total underscore quantity. So initially it's going to be 0, And then here what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say total underscore quantity, and then it's going to be equal to quantity plus total quantity plus quantity. So we get the initial quantity and then we keep adding the quantities of each single product. And in order to differentiate between the quantity and the price, I'm going to say here total price, and here I'm going to say total price, and here total price. So that's it. Here also total price. And I'm going to create a new session variable called total quantity, or quantity. Let's say quantity, just quantity. So the quantity here is going to be equal to the total quantity. That's it. Now let me save. And this is going to calculate the total quantity if user adds something to the cart, or even if user removes something from the cart. It's always going to recalculate the total price and the total quantity. But this is the logic. Now it's time to work on the design. So we need to use the design in order to display the number here. So before I work on the design, let's continue with the logic. So remember in the header we have this cart icon. Now inside this cart icon, inside the I, I'm gonna say span, and then I'm gonna display a number here just to show you where I'm gonna be displaying. Let's display any number. Now if I refresh, the number will be displayed here. Of course, I'm going to be working on the design later, but now I'm just working on the logic. So to get the actual number of items from the cart, we need to use PHP. So here, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add this in a new line. First, I'm going to add this in a new line, and then I'm going to add also this in a new line, and this in a new line. And then let me show you what I'm gonna do. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna use here PHP. I'm gonna open a PHP tag. I'm gonna say PHP, and then I'm gonna say if session is set session quantity and session quantity is not equal to 0, then I'm gonna open here a curly bracket, and then I'm gonna here close the curly bracket, and then I'm gonna close the PHP, and in between I'm gonna display the number by using the span. I'm gonna say span, and then in between I'm gonna say PHP, and then I'm gonna say echo session, and then quantity, and then semicolon. Let me now save, and let me head on over to the browser and refresh. If I refresh, nothing will be displayed here. As you can see, there is nothing here. There is absolutely nothing here. But if I add something to the cart, let me add something to the cart. Let me here click on buy now, and let me click on add to cart. So now if I add to cart, as you can see here, it's gonna display 1. 1 has been displayed. If I increase the cart, if I say here 3, and if I click on edit, it's gonna say here 3 immediately. However, if you go to another page, it's not gonna be displayed. As you can see, it's not gonna be displayed. And the reason is because we need to initialize the session in the header. here in the header, I'm using the session, but I didn't initialize the session. So at the top of the header, we need to say PHP and then session start and then semicolon and then click on file and then save all. Now if I refresh, the number of items in the cart will be displayed in every single page in our website. It doesn't matter which page. The cart will the number of items will be displayed here above this cart icon. Welcome back. Now it's time to work on the design of the number of items we have in the cart. So as you can see, the design doesn't look good. We need to display the number right above the icon. So to do this, we need to use CSS. So remember, in the header.php, we have this span, and I'm going to give this span a class. I'm going to say class cart quantity. And then I'm going to create this class in the CSS here. I'm going to create this. I'm going to say here cart quantity. So first of all, I'm going to give it a background. So I'm going to give it a background color of the orange color, and I'm going to also give it a white color. I'm going to give it a color white, and I'm going to give it padding 2px top and bottom, and 5px right and left. And I'm going to also say border radius 50% because I want to create a circle. I want to create a circle around this number. And finally, I'm going to say margin minus 2px to display the number right above this icon. Let me now click on file and then save all and show you how awesome this is. And if I refresh, boom, we have this icon. As you can see, it's being displayed here. You can even fix this further by adding here, by changing this slightly. For example, you can say margin minus 3. If you say minus 3, it's going to be shifted to the icon. You can increase this even further, and I'm going to also say font size 1 rem. I think this is going to fix it and make it even better. So as you can see, it's even better. And let me shift it again a little more to the left side. So as you can see, it's amazing. Now this will always be displayed. Let me test now. So if I go to the cart and if I remove everything from the cart, this will not be displayed anymore because there is nothing in the cart. However, if I add something to the cart, this will be displayed back again into the cart. So if I add this to cart, this will be displayed back again. So now it's perfect. Welcome back. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to get all products and display and activate these sections. So we have dresses, we have watches, we have shoes, so we need to activate all of these. And to do this, we need to open the index. I'm going to open up the index. So in the index, here in the index, we have here at the top the header, and we need to import. Remember, we need to import the. We need to create a file that's gonna get these products. So we need to create a file that's gonna get watches, coats, and shoes. So let me here create these files. I'm gonna here in the server, I'm gonna create a new file called get watches.php and another file called get coats.php, and we already have the coats, so we need to get the shoes.php. So we have the coats and we have the shoes. So let me copy the coat from the featured. So let me here select all and copy, and then let me here paste it in the shoes and paste it also in the watches. And in the coats, we already have the coat here. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say in the watches get select all from products, and then limit limit for, but instead of saying select all from products, we need to add a condition here. We need to say select all from products where product category is equal to, exactly like the codes here. So here watches, and here similarly in the shoes we need to say where product category is equal to shoes. And then as we did here, we need to create a different variable. Here let me say here watches just, or just watches, or watches product. Let's say watches. And here in the shoes I'm going to say shoes. Now what we need to do is that we need to save everything, and in the index we need to import these files. So we need to import them in the correct section. So we have here the watches. So in the watches, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to remove all products and I'm going to leave only one. So here, starting from here, I'm going to leave this product. This is the first product. And then I'm going to remove the second, the third, and the fourth. Similarly with the shoes, I'm going to keep only one product here, this, and then I'm going to remove the second, the third, and the last one. And be very careful, because you wouldn't want to remove something you want to use. Also in the cuts, or in the, actually it's the cloths. So here we already worked on this, so there's no need to do anything here. Now let me refresh, and now as you can see we have one watch and one shoes. And here we have already worked on this earlier, but for the cloths here we need to activate the button. We need to activate this button right just like we did here with the single product. So I'm gonna copy this line of code, and then I'm gonna paste it here in the cloths instead of this button. And let me test. So the cloths should work. Now if I click on add to cart, it's gonna go to the single product page. Now let's work on the watches. So for the watches here, I'm going to create a loop. I'm going to say PHP, and then instead of creating the loop, let me copy it from here. And then I'm going to paste it here, and we need to change the variable. So the variable is here for watches is obviously watches. Watches fetch as source, and then at the end we need just to close the PHP curly bracket, and in between we need to display the here the product name PHP, and then echo raw product name, and then product price, echo raw product price. And lastly we need to display the button, so I'm going to get the button from here. We have this button, and then I'm going to paste it here. For the image, we already worked on the image, so instead of repeating this, I'm going to get the image from here. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to paste it below. Similarly, for the shoes, we need to do the same. So I'm going to copy most of the code. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to add it here, and then I'm going to copy the image, and then I'm going to paste it here, and lastly I'm going to copy the these three lines. Actually, yes, these 3 lines. I'm going to copy these 3 lines because they are the same, and then I'm going to paste them here instead of these static lines. And finally, don't forget to close here the PHP curly bracket. Finally, there is a problem that we need to work on, which is importing the files. So you need to import the files right above the loop. So here I'm going to say PHP, and then for the shoes, for the watches first, we need to say include server / get watches here. And for above the shoes, we need also to say PHP include server / get shoes. And let me save and let me refresh. Now I don't think that I have shoes and watches. Therefore, I'm going to get nothing. So the next step is that I'm going to fill up my database with watches and shoes before I test, because as you can see, there is nothing because I didn't add shoes or watches in my database, in my products table. Welcome back. So now if I scroll, I'll find all of the products available because I have added so many products to my database. Now let's test. So we already know that these products will, that we have added these products earlier and they work. They will take you to the single product page. Let's test the second section, which is dresses and coats. Let me, for example, test this one. I'm going to click on buy now. And as you can see, it's going to take me to the single product page. And if I click on the other images, they will be displayed here. So of course you need to add the images of the same product here so that the user can, the customer can check out other images of the same product. Let's test the other section, which is watches. Let me here click on this buy now, and as you can see, it's going to display the image here. And here again I'm adding different images, but again you need to add images of the same product. Here just for testing I'm adding different images of different watches, but you need to add images of the same product but from different dimensions, from different angles. Lastly, we have these shoes. Let me here, for example, test this one. If I click on it, it's going to take me to this page, and I will again be able to check out other images, and everything's perfect. Here, by the way, you need to add more text to describe the product. So here I just added a very simple sentence. But you know how to do this. It's very simple and amazing. Welcome back. So now it's time to add another important feature to our website, which is the pagination. So what is pagination? Pagination is the process of displaying only a certain number of products in the main page, and then adding here a bar. We already added this bar, and that bar will allow users to go to click on a button and get more products and different products. Because the reason why we need pagination, and the reason why so many websites use pagination, is because you cannot display all products in a single page. It's especially if you have a very big e-commerce website. So imagine you have 1,000 products. It's just impossible to display 1,000 products in a single page. Therefore, you need to have pagination, and you need to display. You need to allow users to check out only a certain number of products, and then if they want to check out more products, they would have to click on 2 and then 3 and then 4, etc. This feature is super important and very, very important. especially if you have a very big e-commerce store. And maybe at the beginning, maybe you wouldn't want pagination, but I promise you, if you grow, if your business grows, you will at some point need pagination. There is no way you could just run a big e-commerce store website without having pagination. Therefore, pagination is a must. You at some point you would have to have pagination. So let me show you how you can add pagination and how you can activate pagination. We have here this bar, but of course it's not working because we need to activate it. By the way, the process of adding pagination is a little tricky, but I'm gonna try to make it as easy as possible, and also I'm gonna try to make it as fun as possible. So let me go to my project and start working on pagination. First of all, pagination will be added to the shop page because this is the shop page. So in the shop page, remember at the top we have if statement. This if statement will be executed in case user wants to search for a specific product, or in case user wants to filter products. So for example, if user wants only shoes, coats, or watches, and if user wants products that are under a certain amount of money, then they would have to click on search and first select or set the criteria and then click on search. Else we will get all products, and this is not correct. This is correct if only if you have small business, small website. But if you have, say, 1,000 products or more, it would be very difficult to just continue and display all of the products here. It's just not gonna work. So let's now start working on pagination. So here we need to add pagination. Instead of getting all products, we need to remove this code, and instead we need to start working on pagination. So the first thing that we need to do here in this else, we need to say if, and then we need to add number of pages. So we need to say if is set, and then get, and then page number, and get page number is not equal to nothing. Then what we need to do at this point, we need to set the page number. So we need to set if the page number is set and it's not 0, then it means that there is a page number. It means that the user is at a specific page number. And at this point, we need to say page number is equal to the get request, because now the get request has been initialized, or was initialized, I should say. So the page number, this variable page number was initialized earlier. Else, if user just came to this page, then we need to set the page number to be 1, because the default, this is going to be the default. So the default, if user just came or entered the page, then default page is 1. If user has already entered page, then the page number is the one that he selected. Is the one that they selected. So because they may have clicked on page 2 or 3 or next. So we need to say the page number is going to be equal to this. Now after this point, after this code, what we want to do is that we need to get products from the database. So this is pretty simple. We have already done this many times. I'm going to say statement 1 is equal to connection, and then we need to prepare and get all. Now we need to get all. This is very simple, and we have already done that. Select all, select not all, select count, and I'm going to explain why we need count. We need to get count all as total records from products. So what does this mean? What does this statement mean? This statement is going to get us the total number of products we have in the database. So if you have 1,000 products, it's going to return that number, because there is no way by which you could count the number of products, especially if you have a very big website. You need to use this statement. This is going to return number of products. So you could have 1,000 products, 10,000 products, it depends. Then what we need to do is that we need to execute the statement stmt1 execute, and then we need to bind the result. We need to say statement 1 and then bind result and store the result in a variable called total records. So this total records is gonna represent the number of products. Then what we want to do is that we want to store the result. So I'm gonna say statement 1 store result. Lastly, I'm gonna say fetch stmt1 and then fetch. Let me just remove the space because the code is gonna get longer and I don't want to confuse you. So the first step is to determine here. The first step is to determine page number. The second step is to return the number of products. The third step is to set the total number of products that you want to display per page. So here we got all of the products, but of course we don't want that. Instead, we need to determine a specific number of products to display per page. For example, you can display 8 products per page, 10 products per page. It depends upon how many you want to display. But my recommendation is not to display more than 20 to 30 products maximum. You wouldn't want to display too many products. So in my case, I'm gonna test with 8 products. So I'm gonna say here, I'm gonna add a comment and then I'm gonna say products per page. So here I'm gonna say products per page, and this total records per page. Total records per page is the number of products that you choose. This is a variable that you choose. I'm gonna say 8. I want 8, only 8 products per page. And then I'm gonna say offset. This now the tricky part. Offset. So the offset is gonna be equal to the page number minus 1 multiplied by the total records per page. Total records per page. This is going to return the offset. Why would we want an offset? Offset is important in order to be able to apply it to the pagination, to the concept of pagination. And then we want to create a variable called previous page. So the previous page. So the previous page is going to be equal to page number minus 1. And we next page. So the next page is going to be equal to page number plus 1. So what are these? These are these buttons. Remember, here at the bottom we have next and previous and next. And in order to go back, we need to create a variable called previous, and in order to go forward, we need to say next. We need to create a variable called next, which is going to increase the number of pages. Next, we want to create a variable called adjacents, which is going to be equal to 2. And next, we want to calculate something important, which is the total number of pages. So how can we get the total number of pages? Well, since we have the total records per page and we have the total records, we have the offset as well, we can calculate the total number of pages. So the total number of pages is going to be equal to ceil, because we don't want to get a point. We only want integer. We don't want a decimal number. So the total number of pages is going to be equal to the total records, the total products, divided by the total records per page. Total records per page. Total records per page. Pretty simple. If you divide the total records by the total records per page, you are going to get the total number of pages that you need to display. Lastly, we need to get all products. Now we are done with this. This is the concept of pagination, which is getting the total number of pages, the offset, the next page, the previous page, the adjacents, and the total number of pages. Lastly, we need to get products. Now, get all products. But this time I'm not going to display all of them. This time I'm going to divide them to these pages, to the total number of pages. So let's now here create a new statement. I'm going to say statement now. Let's say statement 2 is going to be equal to con, and then prepare, and then select all. Select all from products, but we need to use the limit by the offset, and we need to limit also by the total records per page. Total records per page. And lastly, we need to execute and get the result. We need to say here stmt2 execute, and we need to store the result in a variable called products. Now we have the products. So the products is going to be equal to statement 2 get result, and we are good to go. Pretty simple. There's nothing difficult about this. Now let's work on the pagination itself in the bottom. So in the bottom, what I'm going to do is that I am going to here say below this we need to add PHP code. We need to say here to the previous, we need to add a class to disable the class if we are in the first page. So here inside this class, I'm going to add PHP, and then I'm going to check the number of pages. I'm going to say if page number is smaller than 1, then I'm going to say echo, and then I'm going to echo a class called disabled, which is a bootstrap class, and then semicolon. And then inside the a tag itself, inside this a tag, let me add this a tag in a new line. And you have to be very careful because this is tricky. and then we add this in a new line. So inside this a tag, we need to activate the href. So the href is going to be equal to php, and then if page number is smaller than 1, if page number is smaller or equal to 1, then we need to echo hashtag, because it cannot take the user anywhere because the page number is smaller than 1. You cannot go you cannot go to page 0. There is no page 0. And then don't forget here to close the PHP. But we need to also add else if the page number is not smaller than 0, we need to display the link that will allow the user to go back. So else, I'm going to say echo. So what do we want to echo? We want to echo question mark and then page underscore number is equal to dot, and then we concatenate the page number minus 1, which is the previous. You can use the previous page that we used, but I'm gonna use here page number minus 1, and that's it. Inside, you just need to close this. Here, you need to close this and display previous. That's it. So this is for the previous. This is for the previous page. Let's now work on the next, because it's a little tricky, and then I'm going to work on the numbers. So for the next, we need to do the same. So here in this class, I'm going to say PHP, and then inside that PHP, we need to check the page number. I'm going to say if page number is greater than or equal the total number of pages. If this is the last page, then we need to echo disabled, because the user cannot go further. This is the last page. Else we need to display the link. So in the a tag here there's nothing else. Here in the a tag we need to display a link. So here in the a tag, I'm going to say PHP, and then first I'm going to check again. I'm going to do the if statement. I'm going to say if page number is greater than or equal the total number of pages, then we need to echo hashtag, because we need to deactivate this page or disable this page. Else what we want to do else is that we need again to echo the link. So I'm going to say echo and then page number question mark page underscore number is equal to, and then dot, and then we concatenate the next page. So we concatenate the page number plus 1, and then don't forget the semicolon. Pretty simple. And then finally we just say next. That's it. So these are the next and previous pages. Now let's work on the numbers. Here we shouldn't be displaying all numbers. We should only display 2 numbers, and then we display dots. So for the first number, for page number 1, we just need to say display the link. So here in the href, we just need to say page underscore number is equal to 1, because the page number is always going to be 1. For page number 2, we need to say question mark and then page number is equal to 2. It's always going to be 2. Then more than this, I'm not going to be displaying 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not going to do this. Instead, I'm going to display here dots, and then the user can always use the next button to go to page number 3 and then 4 and then 5, etc. But we need here to add a PHP code in order to display the correct page number. To do this, we need here to check the page number first. We need to say PHP and then if page number is greater than or equal 3, because here at this point it's greater than or equal 3, then here curly bracket, and then curly bracket, and in between we need to say dot dot dot, and then we need to next to it we need to display the number. We need to display the actual number of the page. So this dot 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 indicates that there are many pages between 2 and the page that the user is currently browsing. So I'm gonna say here, I'm gonna copy this line and then I'm gonna paste it below, and then instead of displaying dot 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 here, I'm gonna say PHP, and then I'm gonna echo the correct number, the correct page number. So here I'm gonna say echo page number, and don't forget the semicolon, and for the href we need again to say PHP and then echo question mark page number is equal to dot page number. That's it. We are done. Let me now save and let's head on over to the browser to test. So let me go to the browser and let me now refresh. So now as you can see, what I'm gonna get is that I'm gonna get only 8 products. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now I have here previous. Previous now is disabled because now I'm at page number 1. If I go to page number 2, here it's gonna say page number is 2, and the previous page, the previous button was activated. If I click on next, I will not be able to go to next because I don't have many other products. I only have 16 products. But I can go back. I can click here on previous, and it should take me to the next to the previous page. If it doesn't, then we need to add brackets here. So here I need to add brackets. Let me add here brackets, and also here brackets because here I think this could affect the code. So we need when we add a number or subtract, we need to add brackets. Let me try one more time. So I'm gonna go back and let me refresh, and now it should work. Now if I click on previous, it's gonna take me to the previous page. If I click on next, it's gonna take me to the next page. So as you can see, and you can again control the number of products that you have per page. For example, here if I say total records per page, if I say only 1 and save and refresh, I will get only 1 product per page. So as you can see now, I'm gonna get only 1 product per page. And if I click on next, I'm gonna get to the next page. If I click on next, I'm gonna get to the next page. And here it's gonna display the page number. For example, 4 here. If I click on it, it's gonna take me to page number 4. If I click on next, it's gonna take me to page number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, etc. And if I click on 1, I'm gonna get back to page number 1, and I can't go to page number 0 because obviously there is no page that is number 0. We start from 1. So this is how it works, and I'm gonna be displaying 8 products per page.